Philippa Gamse, web strategy expert, certified management consultant, the speaker that everyone with a website should hear at least once.
People buy emotionally, they don't buy intellectually. Even when we think we're making a rational decision, there's gut-level instinctive reactions going on. There's that feeling in your stomach, there's that intuition, even if you don't think you're particularly intuitive, that's governing what we're deciding to do. In the real world, we learn all sorts of skills in order to handle this and to create relationships and to create connections. So we work on our listening skills, we work on hearing people, we work on mirroring and reflecting and selling and so forth. And something seems to happen when we get to the web. And think about the number of websites that you've been to that perhaps are kind of flat, maybe they're bland, they feel like a brochure, they don't create any emotional experience in you. And yet we know that emotion governs how we buy. Sometimes they do worse. Sometimes they actually create negative emotions in you. People are looking at your websites. Even if you aren't the person responsible for the site, even if you're not the person who gives input to the site, your website is having an impact on your business success. And how it makes your visitors feel is crucial in creating that impact. Think about when we have a conversation. The first thing that we do is we recognize each other. So I see a friend of mine sitting here in the front row. So yesterday I saw her and I said, "Hi, Marianne, how are you?" And we hugged and she said, "Great to see you, how are you?" If we don't know each other, we would have introduced ourselves. I would have found out your name and we would have said hello that way. But either way, there's a recognition piece going on. There's an introductory piece. And I know I feel comfortable, I want to have this conversation. So I want to start having a feeling that says, I'm in the right place right now. You know who I am as the visitor. There's a clear connection between your site and my needs and interests. So make me feel welcome on your site. But let's just look at what I mean by recognition. This is actually the Georgia World Congress Center site. Logically, you're probably one of 3 main segments of visitors to them. So if you look at what they do, I'll bring up some arrows here. Right at the top of the screen, they immediately say, okay, are you an event planner? If so, click here. Are you an exhibitor? Okay, click here. Are you an attendee? Okay, click here. And they immediately take you to a page that talks to that segment of their audience about what they have to offer them. So I don't have to plow through a whole load of stuff if I'm exhibiting about event planning and so forth. Self-selection on a site, so where you recognize the different segments of your audience and take them to the place that's for them, just that can speak to their language and their needs, is a great thing to do. So take a look at your home pages. Take a look at what's in there that people might want to click and what you can do to use that to draw them into your content.
The best discussion I've seen on website strategic development. Exceptional ideas, quantifiable answers.
Couple of things actually just to keep interest and keep people on your site for a little while, but there are some funky little things you can do as well. I thought this was cool. A lot of people ask me about color and the relationship of color to the emotional appeal of a website. And you know what the problem with that, I think, is that, I mean, there are some colors that are pretty weird, but in general, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So what I really like may not be what you really like. So on this site, Reno Tahoe site, they actually have a color selector, which I thought was kind of cool. And so you see you can have all of these different colors here. So if you don't like the blue that we have right now, you can change it to orange. How do you like that? Kind of a little bit bright? Okay, let's try, I think this is teal. And I found myself literally playing with the colors, going, I wonder which one I like. And of course, while I'm playing with the colors, I'm on the site and I'm also noticing what else they've got. Here we have Barry Manilow. And I have to tell you, every time you go to the homepage of the Las Vegas Hilton site, Barry sings at you. Now, how do I say this nicely? Barry isn't necessarily totally my cup of tea, but this site kept me on it because I just kept trying to click on Johnny Mathis to see if I can get Johnny Mathis to sing at me. Didn't work. What's happened for me, I have a tremendous number of articles on my website, and it seems to me that if you showcase your expertise enough, people will say, this person knows what they're doing, I need this person. I need this person to do what they're talking about for me. If you get somebody who says, well, I know how to do it now, they probably weren't going to lay out the money for you in the first place. And I was also asked in my surveys about organic search and search engines. And let me tell you something else. Content on your site, not the piece where you're selling stuff, but for those of you who sell any kind of expertise, professional services, destination, information, and so on, that content is what gets you into Google. And I can tell you that I walk my talk. I believe I still am, but for quite a long time now, I have been #1 on Google for the search website strategy, which is what I do. So, and this is to inspire all of you smaller sites out there, because I'm a one-person consulting business in Santa Cruz, California, and I can be #1 in Google out of the entire universe for search on website strategy. And the reason I get there is because all of the content on my site and the articles that I have that are featured all over the web, that create links to me. Content is king for anybody trying to give out a professional image and expertise. So think about adding content to your site if that makes sense for you. Now, this is really important for anybody who has a search engine on your site. Do a lot of people here have search on your site? Really helps to get through your content. But here's the thing. You never want to give your visitor a dead end. So when I'm doing a search on your site, I'm looking to extend that conversation that we're having, that I'm talking about. I'm trying to find things. And it's an opportunity for us to have an interaction. But how many of you have been on a site, you put in a search, and it says, sorry, please try again? And how do you feel? Kind of a little frustrated, maybe, well, what did I do wrong? Does anybody ever feel that? That person's trying to connect with you and they're trying to contact you. So at a minimum, see if you can program your search engine to do some different things. #1, sorry we don't have anything, but click here to contact us to ask us your question. Maybe some hints for how you can search the site better, or any point where we don't have anything now, but we will have in the future, and we would rather tell you about them than say check back. Whenever you say check back, that's a kiss to death, right? How many of you ever check back? Doesn't happen.
I've learned that the appearance and functionality of my website is as important as the appearance and functionality of my dealership.
And I can tell you story after story of testimonials getting the business. They say that public relations, which is basically people talking about you, not that you've paid for, has something like 7 times the credibility of paid advertising. And a testimonial is that, it's just that. But one thing you want to be careful about on your site, I look at a lot of site traffic reports. Very few people go to a separate page of testimonials. You know, click here to read how people think, how wonderful people think we are. And again, this is where you put on your own human hat. If you're on the site, somebody else's site, and it says click here to read how wonderful we are, do you go there? No? Because it's boring, right? And because you know it's going to be wonderful. But they work. I've just told you that they do work. And my strong suggestion to you is use these things, but take them off of the one page and put them all across your site, on every page of your site, and use a testimonial for different pages of the site that relate to the content of that page. These things are gold dust. They work, people read them, but they won't read them separately. This is a site from a company that I met in ADME last year, Destination Management Executives. It's a company called Kitty Corp. And what they do is they provide babysitting and childcare services for conventions. So the convention where you're coming to the meeting with your kid, and you put your kid in the program for the day, that's what these guys do. And I love the picture of the bald kid here, and, you know, I can make your event a success. And then what they do is they have a page for parents. And on the parents page, it talks about all the things that a responsible parent would be worried and interested in, like how they do background checks on the staff, the security, the insurance, the educational value of all the wonderful things they're going to do with your kid. Very important information. But I kept looking at this site, And I kept having this visual of this parent. Have any of you taken kids to a convention? So you got little Johnny sitting there and you say, okay, you're coming to this convention. And he's like, oh, God. And it's not going to be cool and it's going to be boring. And do I really have to go? And can you imagine the difference on this site if you took little Johnny in front of this site and there are testimonials or hopefully even recorded interviews, maybe even some video here, and pictures of what the kids are doing. Kids' voices on this site. Here's the kids having fun. Here's the kids really enjoying what these guys are doing with them. So now what you've got is a combination of all the information that you need for the responsible parents, but you can get little Johnny all fired up about going because now he knows it's cool and he wants to be at this convention because he wants to do what these kids on the site got to do. So all that kicking and screaming stuff is no longer a problem. So thinking about the people who are looking at your website that maybe aren't your primary buyer, but that you want to influence, and use their voices on your site as well.
I cannot tell you how impressed I was with your presentation. It was worth the registration of the conference.
This is Trekking the Great Wall of China, and this is the top of it, and it has this huge and wonderful description of what's available in their Trekking the Great Wall expedition. But as you can see, if we scroll all the way down, there's a lot of text. What do you not see here? Pictures. What do you not hear here? Think about how much more that description would be enhanced in terms of drawing me in and engaging me in the experience of thinking about going to trek the Great Wall with some audio, some pictures, some real things to grab my imagination as I read that description. So on day 8, we're reading down all the things that we're doing, and on day 8 we go for a bicycle tour, and we see the Ming tombs and some ancient emperors' tombs and so forth, and then we go back to Beijing, we have a Beijing duck dinner, we stay at a 4-star hotel, and then it says on day 9, after an early breakfast, take your transport to the airport for your flight back to the US. Whew. It's gone, it's over, I'm on the plane home. Oh. Think about how I'm feeling. I was all excited and interested and involved in the story of this trip. And then it says, okay, it's over, we're done, you're on a plane home. And that whole excitement feeling is suddenly deflated. And this is the bottom of the page. You can see the navigation at the bottom of the page here, and this is how this page ends. And what does it absolutely need there? Is a click here to book this trip now. Don't put me on the plane home. I mean, obviously I know I'm going home. Click here to get this now. Click here to talk to us about this trip. Don't lose me right in the moment when I'm inspired. Don't deflate me. That's when you want me. Look at all the pages on your website. At every point where you think the visitor might be saying, boy, I want that. I want to know more about that. You want that. Click here now. And that can be all through the page. It doesn't have to be at one place. It doesn't have to be only at the top or only at the bottom. Think about the emotional reaction that's going on in your visitors, that point where they're ready. And right there, right then, give them something to get it. Make it really easy. Don't let them go. Don't let them deflate.
That made more sense than any internet presentation I've ever heard.
Have you ever been to the United Airlines website and looked for a button that says, click here to complain? Would you like to be able to find a button that says, oh, I see somebody right there, click here to complain? For some reason they don't have this, but they do have a contact us form. And actually, it's fairly nice, and it actually says, please let us know if you'd like a response, which is nice. And then it says, please let us know if your message relates to a compliment or a complaint or a comment. Okay, fine. And then we get into the place where I can actually fill in the form. And notice what happens. I have to fill in loads and loads of details. All these little stars say this is something that you have to put in. And I'm getting a little frustrated because if you know my Mileage Plus number, which you've asked me, then surely that means you know my name and my address and all the rest of it. I see my friend down here is nodding. Obviously, you've tried this. And then it says ticket number, originating flight, date, city and destination. And again, well, heck, if you know the ticket number, don't you know where I was flying to and from? But then we get to the point, which is the bottom of the screen. See where it says message? Right at the bottom of the screen. Because this is where you actually get to complain. And see how small that box is? See how big the real estate, the blank real estate on the screen is? You know, and this is important. Again, United may not care if I never fly with them again, because it's just me. But most of you out there don't want to lose your customers. And think about this. We know that a customer that's been unhappy, that you make happy, will talk about you in positive terms far more than a customer that's never had a problem. This is absolutely true, right? So if a customer's unhappy, what's the number one thing you want to let them do? Is rant at you, right? And it's quite possible if I'm able to type in my whole story and get it off my chest, I would feel better and that would be the end of it. So if you are going to have a feedback form on your site, if you are going to let people talk to you on your website, then make them feel like you want to hear from them. The whole message here really is, we don't want to hear from you, right? This is not what you want on your website. Make that feeling where the visitor is going to feel supported, is going to feel that sense that, yes, I really do want to hear from you and I want to have that interaction. But if you have a website, the proof of everything I've just said is in the traffic reports. You need to know what's going on, what your visitors like, what they don't like, where they go, where they leave. It's all there. And in my, as I said, not so humble opinion, if you're not looking at the traffic reports on your website and what's really going on, if you're just depending on, oh, well, I know how many sales I get, so it must be okay, you are shooting in the dark with your whole web investment, because there's proof to all of the things that I talked about before, and it's here in the metrics. So have somebody at your company look at the metrics for your site. What I'd really love for you to be thinking about is, boy, I really want to go back and look at my website now from a different perspective. How does my website make people feel? And in that light, what's the one thing that you would want to do differently with your website that would really create that authentic, emotional connection with your visitors? If you can do that, you'll get better sales leads, better responses, better satisfaction, and more people talking about your site. Thank you very much.
Philippa Gamse, bringing you powerful and practical ways to grow your web response rates, sales leads, customer retention, and overall return on investment. Book Philippa today to ensure a website that wins for you.